Now I'm unmuted. I guess my timer got super long. I'm Gabe, the O-Scope Wizard. Welcome to the O-Scope Wizard Show. It is Band Shirt Tuesday. Today I'm rocking a Hobo Johnson band shirt. Let me know what band shirt you're wearing, or even if you just want to talk about music, drop it in the comments below because I love to talk bands and music. But on the last episode, we were testing a cell phone booster, and I have a lot of questions about cell phone boosters and how well they work, and do they actually help me get faster cell service? When I'm talking about faster cell service, I mostly mean data service. And we were looking specifically at this guy, the weboost. It's a very popular cell booster. Can it find it? Can it find it? Can it find it? Find it. Come on, camera. There we go. This guy, the weboost. It's highly recommended on the internet, on the interwebs. I bought one on Amazon. And on the last episode, we actually used a spectrum analyzer to take a look at the signals coming out of the weboost. So we ran an antenna into one side, and we looked at the signals on a spectrum analyzer out of the other side. But I realized I didn't do some very basic measurements. One, I didn't look at the signals without anything connected. That's a great place to start. Don't connect anything to your system. Turn it on and see what it does. If it does something wrong, you can almost be certain that it's not going to get better as you complicate things. Another thing that I can use to test this cell phone booster is a really common piece of test equipment amongst the electrical engineering crowd. That is a signal generator. I have this really cool signal generator that will actually, let's see, can you find it? Can it find it? There we go. I think it can. There we go. This guy, the SGT. This guy can actually generate cell phone signals. And after we plug in the cell booster with nothing connected, I thought we could plug in my signal generator and generate very specific signals to see what this thing looks like. We have a guest. What's up, James? Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. We're doing cell phone testing, and we are going to watch an O-Scope Wizard struggle to test radio frequency things. So cell phones work in radio frequencies all the way from about 600 megahertz up to a little over 2 gigahertz right now. Hopefully that'll go much higher in the future, but that's what we're working with today. Let's get started. So I have, first things first, I probably need to share my screen. So here's the weboost. I need to plug it in, and I need to plug in my signal generator. So my signal generator is the SGT100A. And it is going to take a second to boot up. So I'll go ahead and plug it in and turn it on. We can hear the fan crank up and get angry. In the meantime, I can turn on my weboost and plug it into my spectrum analyzer to see what it looks like when nothing is connected. So I have two ports on this cell booster. I have a port that says outside antenna, and then I have another port that says inside antenna. So you put this inside of your house or your RV or your tent or wherever you're boosting the signal. And this is where you would plug in your giant, huge, multi-omnidirectional antenna, or maybe you're using a directional antenna, whatever antenna you're going to have outside. But on the last episode, I failed to do a really basic test, which is don't plug in any antenna, and let's see what comes out of this port that would be going to your cell phone. First things first, let's turn it on. Actually, let's go ahead and plug it in. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in my inside antenna port to my spectrum analyzer, because this is the side that I'm interested, because this is the side that actually communicates to your cell phone. So it's going to be more the cell phony side of this booster. And I'm not going to connect anything to the other side. One idea would be to actually terminate this side, but you know what I don't have? I don't have any terminators handy for whatever reason. I have planned poorly. I thought I did have terminators. I went looking in my bag of tricks and realized I did not have terminators. So like a true engineer, we're winging it. We are winging it with the best tools that we have. I can't even talk. I can't even speak. The best tools we have at our disposal. Let's see if I can get to what I want to show. I want to show the spectrum analyzer. So here's my spectrum analyzer. I'm going to unplug it so you can see what I'm working with. I am going from, I think I'm going across a 3 gigahertz span. So my head's in the way of this 3 gigahertz span. Can I move my head out of the way? Yeah, I can. Ooh, move my head out of the way. So you can see that my center frequency is 1.5 gigahertz. And words are hard. The chat says words are hard. Words are a constant struggle for me. I have been speaking, well, a very long time. Let's guess I probably started talking around 3 or 4, and I'm 41, so that means I have been speaking for 37 years. Is that right? 37, 38 years. It feels like I would be better at words than I am. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle. And I only know one language, which is even more embarrassing. I don't even know multiple languages. Back to the problem at hand. Or the investigation. It's not really a problem. It's an investigation. I'm trying to determine whether I want to keep and use this weboost cell booster. I want it to work so bad. Oh my goodness. Chat says it's a good thing I don't talk for a living, and then the joke is I do talk for a living. Ah! Okay. Nothing's going in. Nothing's going on a spectrum analyzer. 1.5 gigahertz, looking at a 3 gigahertz span. If I was to open up my browser and go back and just real quick, let's take a look at this DriveX RV datasheet. It boosts these bands, 12, 17, 13, 2, 4, and 5. So practically, we should see some boosting around 700 megahertz, 850 megahertz, 1700, and 2100 megahertz, and then 1900 megahertz. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 5 spikes on my spectrum when I look at a 3 gigahertz spectrum. So if I was to go back to my spectrum analyzer and now turn on my booster, let's see, get 4. So I'm going to guess that a couple of these are kind of smashed together. I'm going to guess that the 1900 megahertz and 2100 megahertz areas are smashed together up here. And I have the actual LTE frequency bands. Let's see if I can. Actual LTE frequency bands 2, 2 and 4. So yeah, so that's 2 and 4 is 1930 to 2155. So that would be these bands up here. So that is bands 2 and 4. And then I have bands, what is this? The band 12 and 13. And my other band up here, band 5, 850 megahertz, right in this area. So those are the bands that this thing boosts. This is the amount of boost that it is doing with nothing connected at all. we are boot, so our noise floor is around minus 70 dBm, talking in strange terms here, dBm, minus 70 dBm, and our signal is sitting up at about minus 50. So with nothing connected at all, it is just boosting noise about 20 dBm. Now, let's do some more experimenting. I want to actually plug in my signal generator into the outside antenna, and I'm going to pick one of these cell bands. So in my area, it seems like the 700 megahertz band is super popular. And as I've driven around the country, that 700 megahertz band, people love that 700 megahertz band. So that's band 12 and band 13. And ironically, during the last episode, I was trying to do a speed test with my phone because I feel like no matter what this booster does, if my phone doesn't have a faster speed test with the booster in the system, then I don't really care about the booster, because really the booster is just me trying to get faster internet. And if it can't help me get faster internet by increasing the signal, then I don't care about it. There's a bunch of other ways that I could try to get a better signal. Oh, question. What is the difference between dBm and dB? Why would we be asking me these hard questions? dB is simply a ratio between power levels, and dBm is a ratio relative to 1 milliwatt. So that means everything is relative to 1 milliwatt. If I was to, chat will help me here if I am not mistaken. If one was to plug in 1 milliwatt into this system, you would get 0 dBm. And then as you got a smaller and smaller signal, you would get smaller and smaller signals over here, as in minus 50 dBm. And we are using dBm because it is a logarithmic scale, so you can see really big power ranges without having a gigantic screen with a million divisions on the screen. That is the best that I can do right now. Chat will probably have a much better explanation, and there will be comments. Oh man, oh my goodness, I can't imagine my coworkers. They're like, Gabe doesn't know dBm. What kind of an engineer is he? He's trash. Trash, I tell you. I like volts. I like volts. Volts is my happy place. I want to be volting. Okay. I'm going to minimize some of this. I'm going to keep this up so that I have a power range that I'm shooting for. We're going for the 700 megahertz. Whoops. Don't make it big. 700 megahertz range, band 12. So that means we're talking 729, 746, and then 746 to 756. What is this, like a 17 megahertz chunk right here, 746, 729. And then a 10 megahertz chunk right beside it. So that's band 12 and band 13. It's really amazing how much gets done in such narrow bands of frequency. Chat says they think I might have gotten it right. I might have gotten it right. I think I did. I am going to try to connect to this signal generator, and we will see if we can find it. So I want to, let's go ahead and exit. So my signal generator is controlled with a software GUI or GUI. I say GUI. Some people I've noticed on the interweb, they say GUI. Software GUI. And I say GUI. I don't know what you guys say. Feels like GUI is the right word to me. I mean, that's what I feel good about. But this software GUI is going to allow me to control my spectrum analyzer, and I am going to disconnect my cell booster for a second and just plug a cable directly into my spectrum analyzer so that I can determine what the signal looks like. Oh, nothing should be coming out of my spectrum analyzer right now. But what I want to come out of my spectrum analyzer is a pretend cell phone-like signal. So I would like, we're talking about LTE. Talking about LTE here. LTE. In order to generate this LTE signal, I'm going to use some more software. Because why not? Why not open all the software up? You guys are going to see, I'm showing you how sausage is made. So when cell phones are tested, this is how the sausage is made. You got to generate a signal and make sure that the radio inside of the cell phone is going to talk to it. I think, let me make sure that I'm talking to my instruments. Okay, so this hardware address, oh, can we see it? Head's in the way again. Head's in the way. So this is a piece of software called WinIQSim. And WinIQSim is going to generate a waveform that is LTE. So we can select a whole bunch of different waveforms in this piece of software. And I want to select LTE. And I want to tell it that I'm doing a downlink. And I think, yeah, I'm going to tell it I'm doing a 10 megahertz channel bandwidth because both bands 12 and 13 are 10 megahertz bands, I believe. Let's go back. 12, channel bandwidth's 10, 13, channel bandwidth 10. Okay, so 10 megahertz band. And I want to, I think I want to generate a waveform. Think. Okay. So I generated a waveform, so now I have a waveform. And what I would like to do next is send that waveform out to my signal generator here. And I think it may have already done it, actually. Because, oops. Because I have it set to automatically transmit to my instrument. Okay, so I'm saving it to this file, the oscope wizard _ LTE. Transmit, transmitted, all right. That feels good, that feels good. Now, if I turn it on, RF on, there's my signal. There it is, right there. I have it set to a gigahertz, so that's inappropriate for my my test. I want it set for band. Let's start with band 12. So band 12 is 729 to 746. And I think that means the middle is 740-ish. So if I set my frequency to 740 megahertz, let's do it. It's okay. Can I type here? 7, 4, no. Goodness gracious. Let's try this again. 740 megahertz. It will not do gigahertz. Okay. Okay, fine. We'll do 0.740 gigahertz. There we go. There we go. Tons of stuff. And probably want this to be a much lower power level. So let's turn this power level down. Let's see what my min is. So I can do minus 90. Can I do minus 90? One of the things that the cell booster needs to be able to do is pull this stuff out of the noise. Now I need to make my spectrum analyzer match my signal generator. So I have set up, this is all, like, you can't test something with just half of your setup. So before I was testing it, testing this cell booster with essentially half of my setup, which was no bueno. So I'm going to set this center frequency to 740 megahertz, 740 megahertz. And I want my span, instead of being gigantic, I would like my span to be 10 megahertz, right? Yeah. And then if I was to, let's say, increase the power level, we should see this power level going up and down. So I think, do I have all this right? I think I do. Um, the other thing I need to do, the other thing I need to do on this spectrum analyzer, guys, besides setting the frequency range, I also need to tell it that you need to auto level. So it's going to actually find the signal for me. So it will set up the front end of the spectrum analyzer to actually grab this signal and set my reference levels. So that's basically turning, I always think of it as turning a volume knob. I'm sure there are a bunch of smarter people that would say that is a terrible analogy. And yet, can't stop thinking of it as that. I want to make my span a little bit bigger, so that I want to see the edges of my signal if I can. I think. Don't see my signal right now. Do I not have it plugged in right? Let's go to minus. Let's just go to 0 dBm. Okay. Let's go back to my levels here and auto level again. There we go. Now I got a signal in here. It doesn't look like exactly what I thought it would look like. It's actually looking more like, oh, there we go. Maybe I want to move out a little bit. I thought it would be a nice, beautiful span. I've probably messed something up. Let me make my span a little bit bigger. Let's make my span 30 megahertz. All right, I still see the signal, but it's not really, so this does not look like a 10 megahertz wide signal, does it? It looks like a very narrow signal. So I think I have messed something up on my signal generation side. So one of the ways that we can check that is I'm going to preset my signal generator. So menu. So we preset. I'm going to just make a CW signal. So that is a sine wave. 740 megahertz. And turn it on. There we go. That looks pretty good. That's a nice sine wave. Auto level. Let's put it on the screen. There we go. I got it at minus 30. Boom. The power level is minus 30. You know what? Thinking about it, let's start there. So let's actually run a CW signal through my booster to see what it does. And if I was to go back to my browser, we can get fancier down the road, but let's start simple. Again, when you're doing an experiment, it's important to understand all the pieces of the pie and try to keep it simple. If I was to turn back on my browser, all right, where are you at, browser? Where are you at, browser? There we go. and look at my data sheet for this cell booster, inside of this data sheet, seems like it talks about, is this not the data sheet? This does not look like the data sheet. This is just one piece of the data sheet, isn't it? It does talk about the max gain being 50 dB. So I don't want to blow my cell booster up accidentally. I am going to make my signal, instead of minus 30, let's make my signal minus 80. And now we can see, woo, it's way down here. Okay, so there's my minus 80 dB signal. And one of the other things that I can do is let's take my span back down to 10 megahertz. There we go. So we have a narrower span. We're looking at that signal. Everybody can see it, hopefully, following along. Now, we are going to run this signal through my cell booster. Before I plug it into my cell booster, I'm going to turn off my signal generator, because you generally don't want to plug things in when they're hot or on. What does hot mean on? Is that weird? Hot and on? In the test world, we say something's hot when it's turned on. That's hot. Be careful. The line's hot. It's not actually hot. It's just usually electrified in some way. I wonder if hot is a thing. I wonder if it goes back to the stove. That's a hot stove. That's a hot line. Who knows? Who knows? You know who knows? The internet knows. The internet would have an answer for us in no time. Almost certainly. But this is going to answer a couple of questions. I was wondering if the cell booster is so smart that it actually locks onto the signal, demodulates it, and then rebroadcasts it. I do not think it's that smart. I think inside of the cell booster is a amplifier and a bandpass filter. That's what I think is inside the cell booster. So, chat says, if the max gain is 50 dB, your analyzer is showing dBm, does that mean we should see the signal amplified from minus 90 to minus 40? I think so, because my power level is minus 80 dBm, and I'm going to add 50 to it. So I think it'll be minus 30 dBm. I think that's the way it will work. I think since they're both dBm, the dBm math is we can just add them. I think, in fact, that's one of the reasons why dBm is so popular with folks, is it makes complicated math ratios a little bit easier because you can just add and subtract. But we're about to answer it empirically. Without math. We're skipping the math part, and we're just going to plug it in and see. So I have minus 80 coming out. So now I have my signal generator going into the port that was for the outside antenna. So this would be the part that's outside. And then the part that goes to the inside antenna is going to my spectrum analyzer. And we are going to be able to see the signal passing through this cell booster. Okay, so the signal's all passed through. Now, if I unplug it, we can see this is unplugged. Cell booster unplugged, noise floor, minus 100 dBm. Cell booster plugged in. Now we're at minus 70. So I still haven't turned on my signal generator. So I expect it to be at minus 30, so like way up here. Let's turn on my signal generator. Yes. So it is doing it is doing about 50 dB of gain. So if I am plugging in minus 80 dBm and I'm measuring almost minus 30, I believe that I can even do things like get some markers on here. Marker. Yeah. So the spectrum analyzer says that is minus 34 dBm. And I'm looking at the whole span. So from 735 over here, then up to 745. So that is almost all of band 12. So if I was to move this around, we can see, yeah, there we go. We can see, yeah, we can see it going up and down a little bit because the amplifier is not perfectly flat. I think I can do, how do you do marker to peak? Select marker function, search. Auto max peak. Is that doing it? Seems like I need to hit another button to make it. Oh, there it goes. Found it. Found it. Another question. Am I using any kind of attenuator between the amplifier and the very expensive spectrum analyzer? I feel like that's more of a, is that more of a warning than anything else? It's like, yo, you might need to do that. No, I am not. That's a good point. Maybe I should. Maybe I should. I didn't. Um, okay, so I have another idea that it looks like this thing is actually boosting the signal coming from the signal generator. I mean, we already knew it was boosting it because when I turned on my booster, my cell phone like reception, the indicator goes up. So if I have 1 bar and I turn the booster on, I'll get 3 bars. But what's not happening is my speed is not improving. So that's another problem. And one of my theories is, yeah, the signal coming in from outside to the cell phone is being boosted, but what about the signal coming from the cell phone being boosted out back out to the towers? So if I was to reverse this direction and go from the signal generator acting like it's on the inside and then measure what's coming out on the other side, what does it look like? So two things I want to do: check this bandpass filter to see what the cell phone booster is doing, and then what about pushing the amplifier the other way? So sending the signal from this side out instead of going from this side in. Okay, while I have it plugged in though, let's go back and just check my bandpass filter. So 740 megahertz. What I really want to do though is change my start and stop frequencies. And that, I go to frequency, start. I want to make this so my band starts at 729 megahertz. I'm going to make it 720 megahertz. And then my stop will be, what did band 13 stops at? Checking, I'm consulting the interwebs. 756, so I'm going to go up to 760 megahertz. And you can see that the amplifier, I'm going to even go a little bit higher because it looks like it's got a little bit more space up there. Here is this amplifier with its bandpass filter, and you can see that the amplifier is only amplifying bands 12 and 13 like it says, with a little bit of sideband stuff. So, I have got my chat nervous. They want me to turn on some kind of attenuator. Well, that's what I did the auto level for, but I can turn the attenuator on here. Let's see. Attenuation. 10. There we go. Got an attenuator in there. Everybody's happy, I think. Everybody's more happy. Okay, so if I was to move this signal across this bandpass filter that the cell booster is creating, does it actually attenuate the signal? And I think it will. So I'm going to change it. So yes, and you can see, so now I'm at 725 megahertz, which is outside of band 12, and you can see the signal is vastly attenuated. All right, and if I move it up, we can see the signal vastly attenuated. So it is definitely a bandpass filter working in conjunction with an amplifier from the outside in. Now, I want to turn this signal generator around and go from the inside out. So if I just was to share my monitor. So if it does band 12 and 13, the uplink frequencies are different than the downlink frequencies. That's just how it worked out. So the band 12 uplink frequency is 699 megahertz to 716 megahertz. What will the weboost do sending the signal the other way? 699 to 716. I wish there was, I should have grabbed a piece of paper or something so I could have written things down, but I did not. So I will just have to remember. Okay, I'm going to turn off my RF. Turned off my RF. You know what? I haven't even looked at the other side of this weboost with the spectrum analyzer at all. I've only looked at it going from the outside in. I think most of my problems are coming from when the cell phone tries to communicate back to the towers. I feel like the cell booster is doing a great job of getting the signal from the tower to the cell phone. It's going the other direction where I seem to be having most of the trouble. So with that in mind, I am going to preset my spectrum analyzer and turn off my cell booster here and plug my spectrum analyzer into the port that says outside antenna. Just wonder what the cell booster is trying to send out to the outside. And there's so many moving parts in a cell booster system. I mean, there's the cell booster, but there's also cables, and there are antennas, and you can have different types of antennas. So let me share the spectrum analyzer as I turn it on. So we are looking again at the full 3 gigahertz span. So I turn it on, what happens? So turned on. Okay, so we can see it's actually boosting. Yeah, it's boosting 12, 13. What is this, like 5, it seems like? Yeah, so this is band 5 right here. And then bands 1900 and 2100. I can't even remember what those bands are now. 2? Yeah, bands 2 and oh goodness, 2 and 7 maybe. Anyway, so it is boosting. It looks like it's definitely boosting the bands. How much boost though does it give me? So if I was to plug in, let's look at band 12 uplink side. So I'm going to hit my, again, I'm doing this not the way spectrum analyzer guys do it. They never enter the start and stop frequencies, but I can't help it. 699. So 690 megahertz to 699 to 715, 716. Stop. We'll go to 725 megahertz. Okay, so there we go. Band 12 uplink. It's band 12 uplink. Feel good about it? I think we're doing pretty good. Now, I'm going to plug in my signal generator. It is off for the time being from the outside antenna. This would represent my cell phone trying to communicate. The cell phone power levels are tiny. These little cell phones can't be boosting out very big signals because the battery, I mean, it essentially would have no battery life if you had a really high power radio inside of it. So it's all about sensitivity. It's trying to pull signals out of the noise. And I have my reference level set to 0 dBm and my attenuation set to 13. So I got a lot of attenuation in there. I'm going to send a signal at 720 megahertz. Let's do 720. 720. 20 megahertz. And my power level is still at minus 80. So if I turn this on, well, I should probably share the screen with you. I turned it on. Do you guys see anything? I turned it on. Okay, it's off. Signal generator is off. Maybe I can share my whole monitor. So here is the spectrum analyzer right here. And here is my signal generator right here. On. Off, on. Off, on. Off, on. Off, on. Okay. Let's take my reference level down. Let's say minus 30. Okay. Off, on. Off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on. Huh. Off, on. Off, on. Oh, wait a second. My frequency. Dude, 720 megahertz. There it is. Right on the edge. I think it might actually be out of my band, hadn't I? 716. Let's do 716. For a second there, I thought, whoa, this isn't doing anything, but that certainly can't be right. 716. There we go. Off, on. Okay. It is boosting it. So we're at minus 60 for my noise floor of this amplifier, and it's boosting it up over minus 40, so not quite 50 dB. Let me turn on a cursor, marker, they call them markers. In spectrum analyzer world, scopes call them cursors. Chat does say it is amazing that cell phones work at all. It is kind of amazing. Uh-oh. What happened? What happened? It just turned off. That's weird. That's like super weird. Okay. My signal generator's still rolling. Let's turn it off. Turn this off. There it goes. Turn the RF on. Okay, leave it going. We're just going to leave it going for a second, but it just turned off. So it's boosting right now. Great. It's boosting awesomely. Is it getting hot? Let's see. I'm putting my hand over the system. It is not too warm. I mean, it feels normal warm for an electronic piece of equipment that is doing some amplification. It just dropped. Like the amplifier turned off suddenly. So we're letting this roll. How long did I talk? I talked for a while last time. I'm going to move this around my band. Okay, when we get down to 699, we're still getting good, whoops, good measurements. My peak button, 699. minus 37, and I'm pumping in a minus 80 dBm signal. It's working pretty good, but it did disappear, which is really weird, guys. That might be my problem. Guys, sorry. I had to unstop the show. We are back live. Right as I hit the bye, the signal turned off. So my weboost, oh my goodness, that is not what I need to grab. This. So this is the signal we were looking at. It was right here. You can see that it just turned off. Yeah, I think that might be why my cell booster is having trouble. It is turning off the amplifier. So the upstream side is turning off. I need to do a little bit more testing to see if the downstream side turns off too, because look, if I go back over to my webcam, you can see the green light is still illuminated, indicating that the cell booster is boosting away. I wonder if you know what I'm going to do really quickly. Yeah, sorry, I had to reset. Let's preset my spectrum analyzer here. If you go back and we turn on the spectrum analyzer, see the whole span, the whole shooting match, all those bands that were being amplified are off. They are no longer being amplified. I'm gonna do real quick. You know what? I'll edit out the fake buy, and we'll do another buy. We'll do another real buy. I don't want to short you guys a real buy, but I am like curious. This is it's one of those things where I feel like I might have made kind of a eureka moment. Like, this is why it's having trouble. Also, another eureka moment I had was about 25 minutes into the show. I realized my camera wasn't autofocusing on my head. So I don't think it's your glasses that's having trouble. I think my camera was actually just having a little trouble focusing. So I'm going to plug in my cable. So this is me plugging in to the signal coming to the inside antenna. So let's see if it's actually still boosting stuff. Okay, yeah, so it is still boosting the signals from the outside to the cell phone. So the cell phone's bars would still be like, boo, real good, getting a great signal, but the signal being sent out back to the tower, I go back and plug it in, signal's gone. No signal. Oh, no wonder this was in the warehouse. You got me, Amazon warehouse. You got me good. Well, goodness, this cable, can I screw it onto this connector? Yes. Okay. Still green light. No signal. If I was to unplug the weboost, so the weboost is unplugged, green light's off, plug the weboost back in, boom, all my signals there. I think this thing is overheating or something, and it is turning off. It's turning off the amplifier that goes from the cell phone back out to the tower. I think I might just let it run like this for a little while and see how long it takes for these transmitters to turn on. Okay, I think I might have identified the problem. There we go. Yeah, I did the outro already, but I had to break back in for some breaking news. Breaking news! I'm kind of pumped because I think I might have identified the actual problem with this booster. I was getting really frustrated with it. because sometimes it would work great and then it would like fall off the map and stop working as well. And I think what's happening is the signal that's going, you know, from the cell phone back out to the tapper is just turning off. That's clearly what's happening. I just saw it happen twice. There you go. That's why we test. That is what test is all about. I am like kind of stoked that this worked out. So this cell booster is no bueno. No bueno because it's turning off. And you know, it's just this particular one. But who knows? I could get another one. I don't know how many $500 increments that I want to pour into this experiment. I think I'm going to try to get my first $500 increment back out. So that I can try a different tack. You've been hanging out. We've been doing some nerdy stuff. We've been looking at cell phone boosters. Cell phone boosters are kind of neat because you know who has a cell phone? Probably everybody watching this show. So if you ever are curious about how a cell phone booster works, the weboost seems to have a bandpass filter with some really cool amplifiers, which is a good idea. I mean, that is a good way to do it. It keeps your signals boosted and it keeps noise out of the way and allows you to focus on the bands that most of our cell phones work on. As usual, I don't know all the nerds in the world, and I would love to meet them. So please share this with a nerd in your life. And I'm going to hang out in the chat for a little while longer after the show. I will see you guys on the next show. Just check the schedule, and you can find out when I'll be back online. Bye.